The desert sun burned hot against the horizon when a lone cowboy stumbled across something he never expected. A mother, an Apache woman, standing tall with her little girl in her arms. Her eyes carried both kindness and command, and her words struck like thunder. "You fed my daughter, now you belong to me." What did she mean? Was it gratitude, a vow, or the beginning of a bond that could change his life forever? If stories of the untamed Wild West stir your soul, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with a friend who loves history and heartwarming tales. Your support helps keep these incredible stories alive for more people to discover. The land was cruel that summer. Dust rose from the cowboy's boots as he walked beside his horse, each step heavier than the last. Days without a proper meal had carved lines into his face, and even the wind felt like fire against his skin. Out here, in the middle of nowhere, a man could vanish without a trace, and few would ever know. But just when he thought he'd reached the edge of his strength, movement caught his eye. A figure appeared in the distance, walking with steady grace. As she drew closer, he saw her more clearly. An Apache woman in a flowing hide dress, her long dark hair braided and glistening in the sun. In her arms, a small child clung tightly, eyes wide and watchful. The cowboy froze. Encounters like this could turn in many directions: friendship, suspicion, or worse. Yet the woman did not reach for a weapon. Instead, her gaze locked on him, steady and calm, the kind of look that said she'd seen hardship before and lived through it. And then she spoke. Words soft, but carrying an authority he couldn't ignore. Her voice was quiet, yet it carried across the dry air like a drumbeat. "I've been watching you," she said. "You are tired, hungry, but you did not take, you shared." The cowboy blinked, unsure if he had heard her right. He remembered the moment earlier that day when he pulled a small piece of dried bread from his saddlebag and offered it to the little girl clinging to her mother's side. He hadn't thought much of it, just a simple act of decency. But the woman looked at him as though he had shifted the course of the desert itself. She stepped closer, her child nestled against her chest. The little girl peeked out, crumbs still on her lips, eyes wide with innocence. Then came the words that made the cowboy's heart stumble. "You fed my daughter," she said firmly, her gaze never wavering. "Now you belong to me." The cowboy's mouth went dry. Belong? To her? He wasn't a man easily claimed. He had spent his life roaming free, owing nothing to no one. Yet in that moment, something ancient, something larger than himself, hung in the silence between them. The cowboy's confusion deepened when another figure emerged from the shadows of the mesquite trees. A tall Apache man, broad-shouldered and silent, stepped forward. His eyes were dark as storm clouds, studying the stranger who had fed the child. The cowboy felt the weight of that gaze. It wasn't just curiosity, it was judgment. "You must understand," the man finally spoke, his voice low and steady. "Food and water are not small things to us. They are sacred. To give them freely is to give life." The cowboy swallowed hard, glancing between the man and the woman. He hadn't expected this. A scrap of bread, a sip of water? These were survival rations to him, nothing more. Yet here, among these people, such an act carried meaning far beyond his own world. The Apache man continued, "You are bound now, not by force, but by honor. Do you accept what has been placed upon you?" The cowboy hesitated, the desert heat pressing down on him. He was a drifter, a man who owed nothing, yet he felt the tug of something deeper, responsibility, maybe even destiny. That night, the cowboys sat by their fire, the crackle of mesquite wood filling the silence. The Apache woman prepared food with quiet hands, while her daughter leaned against her side, half asleep. Across the flames, the tall warrior watched him, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Every move the cowboy made felt measured, tested. The woman finally broke the silence. "In our way," she said softly, "to feed a child is to give yourself. You are part of us now. You cannot turn from it." The cowboy shifted uneasily. He had lived his life chasing open skies, never tied to one town, one ranch, or one soul. But something about her words sank deep. This wasn't a demand, it was an invitation. A bond offered, not forced. The warrior leaned forward. If you walk away, you dishonor the gift you gave. If you stay, you honor yourself. And her. His head tilted toward the little girl, now dreaming by the fire. The cowboy stared at the child, remembering the small smile she'd given him when she ate his bread. And for the first time in years, he wondered if his freedom had been nothing more than loneliness. Days turned into weeks, and the cowboy no longer felt like a stranger in their camp. He learned their ways, how to read the stars, how to hear the land speak through the rustle of the wind, how to understand silence as deeply as words. One evening, as the fire painted the night in gold, the Apache woman sat beside him. Her daughter rested in his lap, tiny fingers gripping his worn coat as though she had known him all her life. "You fed her," the woman whispered, looking at her child, then at him. "But it was more than food. You gave her hope. You gave me peace. That is why you belong here." The cowboy felt a weight lift from his heart. He had wandered the desert searching for shade, for water, for survival. Instead, he had found belonging, not by blood, but by promise. For the first time in years, he wasn't just a drifter. He was a protector, a brother, maybe even a father figure. Under the wide western sky, he realized he wasn't just passing through life anymore. He was part of a family. And so, the cowboy who once rode alone discovered that a single act of kindness could change the course of a life. In the Apache way, feeding a child wasn't just survival. It was a bond, a promise that echoed across generations. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves the untold legends of the Wild West. Until next time, ride steady and remember, sometimes the smallest acts carry the greatest weight.